AI can enhance how much, how well, and how quickly we do just about anything. Anything you say? Well, how about beta? In this episode, we're talking with Jacob Christensen. He runs the beta program for Bang Olufsen, a leader in the high-end audio market. We spent our time talking about how AI fits into the process.
I would love to have the ability to take, let's say we received $100 or 100 pieces of feedback, and we could feed that to the AI, and it could tell us, this is the areas that the issues are in, and you need to focus in these areas.
And discussed how a program manager balances human interaction with AI and automation.
Too much AI to human interaction can kind of limit the willingness of testers and also just people overall. It seems like people reach out to you and they want a human contact or human to human, and then it's an AI, and they can quickly see this is an AI response.
Let's get into the episode. Today I'm joined by Jacob Christensen. He's the beta program manager at B&O. I'm so excited to have him on. Thank you for coming, Jacob.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I have not heard your story, and I have heard a little about your beta program, but I'd love to share with everybody else. Can you tell us about your company and your beta program?
Yeah, sure. So as you also introduced, I work at Bang Olufsen. I've been an essential part of the whole startup of our test program that we have today. So today I manage all our alpha and beta activities in the company that we are, of course, running via the Centercode platform. So what Centercode helps us with is kind of leverage both our new product launches, but also roll out new software that we, send to testers that we use via the beta community. This has really been an important part of our maturity process, and it still is. When we do new product launches, it helps us to validate each and every step and ensure the stuff that we actually implement in our products is what our customers want. So also it helps us take the right decisions and kind of tailor the products to the customer needs. So this could also be, new feature launches that we would introduce via software testing, or we could ask a couple people in our beta community to help us test the new features that we just introduced. Over the past 4 years, this program that we started out in 4 years ago. I think it started 4.5 or 5 years ago, just before I started. I've been with the company for 4 years now, around 4 years. Doing this process, we have significantly contributed to the actual development phase, and actually the demand in the company has grown to a point where it's an everyday tool that everybody uses, and we everybody's like, where can we get this data? And they would reach out and ask us to collect some data or either do some testing, or so every time we have a new product release or a new product that is in development, we kind of catch up, me or somebody else from the team that I sit in, and we kind of figure out what kind of samples do we need, how many samples do we need, and then of course proceed. We do that on every single product that we develop now, which is also something new that we didn't do previously. So we actually use our existing customer base or non-customers to actually help us develop the products for their needs. And of course they get an insight into a product that's not released yet, and get a feeling of contributing to something bigger, right? And development. Yeah, I think that's on the
Sums up
surface.
the program. You guys
Yeah, exactly.
work in more of the top end headphone market.
No, so actually we work in the whole hi-fi area. So of course in previous years, a long time ago, not a long time ago, but I would say maybe 10 years ago, we actually made the screens as well, but we don't do that anymore. We do make the sound bars like Theater, Beer Sound Theater, that released a year and a half ago, and also other sound bars. And we also have, as a couple people know, Bill Lab 28 and Bill Lab 8, and we do have like various platforms where we have headsets and we have speakers, and then we have TVs as well. So it's the whole, what do you call it, the whole plat of different products that we develop, and we also use this in the beta community where we, if we have a bigger product, we would of course sometimes get fewer samples depending on the price, but it doesn't stop us from actually using real customers to, send these products out to and then collect feedback and data that we can use to head back to development.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. So I was actually thinking about this the other day, because I get asked the question of like how much should we include people that aren't customers, so people that are like part of the target market, they're people that we want to have as customers, and then how do we balance that with having existing customers, people that already own a product that we have out there on the market. And it's funny because people like, oh, I want to just get the new people. It's like you can't abandon your existing people; they'll be very upset. And if you
Yeah.
think about it, someone's gonna complain a lot more if they already have your product and your brand is changing up something on them. So it's very good to include those people. I'd
So
love to get your take on that.
yeah, so it's definitely a good point. So when we do, various testing, we always reach out to the product management team, like and ask them what is the selling segment of this product. Like, who do we anticipate this product is supposed to sell to? Because of course, back in the day before they started developing the product, they had to know, there's a need for this product. We have customer base, or we have a potential customer base we can actually release an upcoming product to. So this is the draft, or this is the what do you call it? This is what we think we will sell to, and those type of people, which is segmented into, geographic, age, and gender, and all these different segments that we can look into. I go into the beta community and I will look, do we have these certain type of people? Like, for example, if we release a new product like BioLab 8 that we released like 6 months ago, I would go the potential customers in that would be people that had a theater. So I would look for people that actually had that, but we also wanted people that didn't have it, right? So that could be potential new customers or people that doesn't have a theater, but they just want the BioLab 8 as a standalone speaker.
I think it's so valuable that you have access to something that your team needs. Like you talked about people like always wanting that data. And I think a lot of it
Mm.
comes down to like you have access to the people, you have access to customers, and you house this community, this panel that they can always go out and answer questions that they have. And it's like that's a lot of what keeps people up is like I just don't know. I don't have the answer to this thing. It would be great if I knew what my customers were thinking or what they didn't like or what they liked. I think that
Yeah.
is so valuable in a company.
It's essential to be able to act quickly, especially so previously we had like a earphone tip that we wanted to see if customers actually use that ear tips, right? And we had to take a quick decision, and so we quickly deployed a survey in the community, and in a matter of a couple hours we had the answer we needed, and we could decide what to do, right? So that was really valuable. Although if we didn't have the community, we would have to send out an email or like a survey to our customers. It could take weeks before we had an answer.
Yep.
So it's an essential tool. I love everything about the Centercode platform and the way that we can tailor everything in the system. It's amazing.
Yeah. I met with a research group who, in order to find people for like a survey or find people for interviews or usability studies, or if they wanted to run a beta test, they would have to do that same thing. Like they'd have to go to their marketing team. They'd have to go to the support team and say, "Hey, I need a list of customers. Like, can we email them?" And they'd have to go this huge process. And like they're talking like they need like 2 week turnarounds to be able to get something up, and they're waiting for another team to be able to get access to it. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be great if you like had a community? The other thing that they would do is go pay a research firm like hundreds of dollars per
Oh
user
yeah,
just to
yeah.
get them, and it's like that's crazy. Like we shouldn't have to do that. So like building your own community is very helpful. It speeds it up. It saves you those money, save you that money, and then you get so much insight. Like you talked about knowing what kind of systems they have in place, what products they own and what things they're interested in. It's like that seems super
Yeah.
valuable to a company.
Also, I can't remember if I explained that. So as I think I said previously, so we do have like emails check up on our cloud side. So we check, what products does this person own? Is it a B&O customer? And then all those products and serial number, software version, all kind of data is being sent live from cloud to Centercode, so we can actually store the data and we can filter, people based on whatever we want. So besides all the, of course, recruitment process of signing into the media community of, us tailoring what information do we need before you can join, we also get that information of, what products do you own without asking people, of course, we asked them, are we allowed to get this data? But they don't have to do it manually, right? Tell us manually, I have these two products and tomorrow I sell one of them and then you need to update the list, right? This updates automatically every day. We get the data from cloud and it updates in the media community as well. So it's
Huge.
fantastic.
Huge.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good segue into our next conversation, which I'm really excited about. And it's less so on the automation side, but we're talking about removing some friction, and AI has been like a huge topic. So I'd love to hear about how you see artificial intelligence fitting into your beta program and your day-to-day work.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I mentioned before as well, so AI is, from my standpoint, is really an essential tool to manage various testing activities, from making text more understandable and ensuring that we provide the necessary information to the different teams. But also having AI to kind of, help us. So one of the main, also one of the big points here is also, the way that Centercode is being managed. You have all these different activities and you can have AI to help you actually, define test activities. Uh, so that's really one of the aspects also that's great about AI. But also, as I explained prior to this meeting. So currently, what we are using today is that I implemented a couple AI models into the different projects that we have. So what it does today is that it actually checks the logs. So we have two type of logs. We have app logs and we have product logs. Most of the time, we create JIRAs based on feedback, and people would submit the logs manually from the app. They'll just press a button, submit logs, but occasionally we don't get the correct logs from cloud, or the product doesn't submit the log, or there could be something else. So what these AI does is they actually check in the log, is there a corresponding timestamp? If yes, then tell us about it. And it would, either it would say that this timestamp is within the log or it's not within the log. If it's not within the log, it would actually tell the tester that we need new logs. So this is something that's really important based on the time saving manner, because what we did before is, we would we would create a Jira ticket, and then the development will look into logs and be like, the timestamp is not in the log, we need new logs. So they'll be using time on actually delving into a log, and then at some point, oh wait, this is the wrong log. We didn't get the right information. Please ask the tester for the right information. While this happens automatically now because the AI checks the logs for us, so we can actually save that time. But yeah, it's also just for so the AI is also being used to actually help rewrite or check for grammar, check for spelling errors, and actually rewrite that. So, for example, if I submit a bug where sometimes they do it on my phone, most people do it on their phone, and they're like, typing, and oh, oops, there's a typo, and there's a typo. Then the AI actually corrects that, and I think I've been testing this for like 3 weeks, and it works flawlessly. It's like every time it's spot on, and I know this helps us a lot as well, because that's something in the past I've been using a lot of time on, and, trying to actually understand what is the tester's meaning, and is this a spelling error, what's going on here, and AI just does that automatically. So there's a lot of how can you put it, low hanging fruits here that you could actually harvest, or you can with the AI and using that implementation. And also, since Centercode has the AI ability, or the API ability, you can actually set this up to do different calls on certain what do you call it, certain workflows, or whenever somebody submits something, it would send the AI model something, and it would return something that you can actually use in the development. Um, yeah,
It's what's cool is like when you say like save you time. So like cleaning up grammar, um, culling through a log, like having to go through a log looking for something. It's like, okay, we're saving time on that front. You get rid of that. What's interesting is like there's so much more time that's being saved with something like that, because say you get a bug. You get a bug, this is something you review. You're like, okay, hey, developers or QA team, here's this bug. There's time between when the tester submitted it to you. There's time from when you review it to when it goes to the development team, right? And there's time for if there's a problem with it, like, hey, I don't have this timestamp in the log, or I don't have a log, or this isn't useful to me. I need more information. It's got to go back to you, then go back to the tester. It's
yeah,
like it's not just the time to look at the one thing; it's that whole time. It's that potential week. And in a tester's world, like when they submit something, they could have totally forgotten all about that. It's like they ran into that bug at that moment. Maybe they don't have that information anymore. Maybe they forgot it. Maybe they ran into something else that took up their time. So reducing the amount of friction to get something and the speed in which to get something back and forth between those teams is huge. Like we're talking about like
yeah.
days, weeks savings of time, and potentially finding something that we can actually address rather than finding something kind of but not being able to do anything with it because we don't have enough information.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just a whole, all the different steps that we need to do to get this information back if we at some point figure out we didn't get the necessary information. But the AI kind of helps us to tailor. Also, the important part here is, when we submit a Jira ticket, submit some feedback, we need to ensure the consistency every time, because if we submit a new ticket tomorrow that looks totally different, the development team is also going to be like, what is this? Where should I see the timestamp? Where should I see this information? The AI also helps us kind of, following the same tone and also following the same consistency between the different issues that we have or feedback that we have. But yeah, I totally agree. It's not only my time saved, it's and overall in the company, because we don't have to run into these ends where we didn't get the information that we needed, because we already know from the original source we didn't get information without anybody having to look in the log. Um, that a workaround here could be that I do it manually, right? I sit down, look in the logs every time we get a feedback. I'm like, oh wait, this is in the log. Okay, fine. Press, and then I wouldn't do anything else. That's the only thing I'll be do every day, looking logs and ensuring that the feedback is it's correctly written. So this is a huge step for us,
Yeah.
especially.
I
Uh,
lived that same thing. So when I worked at Western Digital, we had a streaming player. So we'd hook up our logs to the actual device, and like we'd stream something. Say it's over Wi-Fi, so we'd look at the stream quality over Wi-Fi, and I spent a lot of time going through logs. Like a tester would submit something, and I'd look. Okay, let's see where the point in which they started experiencing some of the issues, like maybe where maybe there was an error that popped up, or you start seeing some memory issues, because like there's a lot of times where we have to stare at memory logs to see where memory started degrading at a point, and it was extremely time consuming. And when you talk
yeah,
about having to review logs from testers, say you're dealing with 10 testers, not so bad, right? Like it's still gonna be a full-time job having to go through those logs, say if they're submitting
yeah.
2 to 3 issues each. But when we talk 100 testers, when we talk a couple hundred testers, it becomes very difficult. And Jacob, I know you don't have a whole team, right? Like it's you don't have 6 people reporting to you that are going through those logs, right?
Yeah, so I'm so, how do you put it? So I do have a person that sits in Lyngby that helps review the feedback. and this was part of the workflow before we added AI. And then of course I have Mike as a resource. I mainly use Mike to, create surveys, help manage the projects, and he also does a really, really great job in doing that. But this is a way of actually, ensuring that those resources can be used elsewhere. Of course, Mike can help with all various things, and AI here can help me and him to ensure that, of course, we can do other stuff, right? Um, and also a great example. So we have something called Mozart platform, which is all our new products. So in that test, for example, I have like 450 people, and every time these people go in and submit feedback, they would submit an app log and product logs, and they could submit endless product logs. It depends on how many products they have in a session, for example. So again, this is also where the AI helps a lot, right? We can tell the AI to go through 10 logs at one go, and then we would know after 10 seconds that these logs contain the right information or not. So yeah, as you also explained it, it's really important tool, and it's that's really great.
One thing that came to my mind in just now when we're talking about it is that you can prevent this, right? Like you can require a log on a piece of feedback, right? Like say you do that. The issue with that is if the user does not have the log handy, what are their options? They can either submit it with they wouldn't be able to submit it without having the log, or they can throw something in there and submit it. So you have the chance of losing out on feedback, right? Like they don't submit it in that time because it's not there, or they put some dummy in its place, and hopefully it's maybe it's just a placeholder. Like that's ideal. You still get the feedback, and they know that they need to do something. But what I like is AI allows you to not require that field, collect that feedback, and still go out and get some response from them pretty quickly. And I think that's a huge time savings. It's you get better feedback, better participation from that. Seems like it's a win-win.
Also, what I did is, when people submit feedback, we would usually, ask for what product they experienced a problem on, or multiple products. And when they do that, we trigger an API that asks Cloud, what products is this? What software is this product currently on? And does it have a log? If it has a log, then it returns a URL. And that URL is then afterwards being sent to the AI that we made. And then the AI looks in the log, and then it returns with a comment to the tester, hey, this is in the log, this is not in the log. And it does that with the timestamp as well from the feedback form, right? So it's like multiple systems playing together in one system and combining all the different data to actually help us evaluate if this is something that we can use or not. And it's a really important tool to also again save that time. And previously, what I had to do was go into the external data, look, does this log look like something from that day? And the problem is you can have multiple logs from the same day, and so it's kind of tough sometimes to do, especially if there's crashes or other stuff that you can't necessarily know about. So the AI really helps again to look in those logs and then just tell us straight ahead we need new logs, and it does that as soon as the person press submit. They get a comment, hey, we have the right log. Hey, we need a new log. Can you please submit a new log? Thanks for the feedback. Blah blah blah. And this is something new. I just started doing this 2 weeks ago, or back when I wrote to you that I just figured this out. So
It's huge.
yeah, it really, really huge. Yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot more enriched data. You're streamlining the process of getting data to the right teams. You're ensuring that it's useful and quality. What's a lot of beta programs, I consider like their problems come in stages. So there's like there's big gates that they need to go through. The first gate usually starts off with I can't find testers. Like I can't get people to. I don't know how to get testers. That's usually like you're at a startup, or maybe you're getting a new a new market that you haven't been in before. So you have that issue. Like I can't get testers. And then the next thing you run into is I can't get participation. I'm not getting participation from them. How do I get participation? Once you've unlocked how to get testers, how to get participation, the next problem that you'll encounter is how do I get good data from them. They're participating, but it's not great. Maybe they're submitting me very few words. It's not very useful. It's not very effective for me. And that's why I love this conversation, because it goes into, I'm at this stage, I'm at this problem in our beta program, and we've come to the need for enriching data and streamlining how to get that data between the teams, which is a very mature problem to be able to run into.
Yeah, it also, again, what do you call it, roses to the actual platform. So previously I was sitting in the design team, or I was a UX student assistant with BNO back when I studied. Back then we did these user tests where we'd invite 5 people into user tests, and we would recruit people from the gymnasium in Struer, or people in the company that was close by that you can go out and be like, hey, do you want to participate? Do you want to participate? Do you want to participate? And then afterwards, you will log them in an Excel sheet, and you'll be like, Johnny, want to participate? And then you'll write, he'll be here at 2 o'clock, and you'll do that, a number of times, and it was so time consuming, and updating the spreadsheet every single time, it was really time consuming. So then you get to the user test, and it's the same thing. You need to, like, participant 1 says this and participant 2 says this, and you will have to log that data in the spreadsheet as well, or in a survey platform somewhere, right? Or build your own survey via some script that you made up. And then, what Centercode does is kind of makes this data dynamic, right? You link all the data to that individual, and it's always accessible. While if I had an Excel sheet, if I did what I do now in Centercode, I had to do that in Excel sheet. I think I had to quit my job, because it would be, it wouldn't work, because it's just, I really love the functionality of having this dynamic data, and I don't have to sit every day and check if Johnny, completed a survey and what is his entries, because I can just see it in the data, right? In Centercode, that kind of combines everything that is one individual. And that's really, really time saving. And I know this is kind of off topic regarding AI, but it's still more, it's so important. It's especially also based on what I did previously. And
It's
also in this instance, you can also take all the data that we did previously from, onboarding, or from the data that we get from cloud, or from the AI, or whatever data you have, and it's all linked to that one person in the community. And it's so accessible and easy to find. Like, somebody asked me, hey, what did we do back in, 2 years ago? And I'm like, oh, wait, I can just, go into the platform, then here's the data. Oh. And I can pull it out in any format that they want, right? I can be like, yeah, do you want it in Excel sheet? Do you want it online? Do you want it in a automatically made report, because the system does that. And it's so great.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's what's you almost have to go through that challenge of running into those problems without something like this, right?
Yeah.
Without organizing, because like as I mentioned, like those steps or those gates that you have to go through, they're different levels of maturity, and each one of those maturity levels is there's platforms, there's technology that can solve those things. So if you have a hard time getting testers, there's technology that's going to be helpful at helping you get those testers. If you have a hard time getting them to participate, there's tools for that. Like Centercode has automated outreach that will push out those emails. And then as you get into the, I need better data, and I need more useful stuff, how you build those forms, how you respond to testers is going to change that data, get you more useful things, and Jira integration to get it to the right systems. And it's like at each of those stages, you're going to see that there's different tech that's going to be needed to help solve, because it just gets more complex. There's more problems after you solve getting useful data. You got to then prioritize it, make sure that it's streamlined and getting to the next team, and then you need to be able to report the value on it, and then you need to report that value on multiple product lines, and it's just like it gets very complex, each of those problems. So I think it is most what you're saying is still mostly aligned to not necessarily AI, but the idea that technology has an involvement in beta programs, because there's different levels of challenges that we're going to run into.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Yeah. So one thing with that in mind, I'd love to jump to our next topic, which is that idea of balancing. You, as someone that runs a beta program, you still need to have a human touch on stuff. These people are participating likely because they're excited about seeing these products. They're excited about interacting with your brand. So how do you see that balance of AI and automation and that human touch?
So yeah, I think there's always a fine balance when adding AI. Like too much AI to human interaction can kind of limit the willingness of testers and also just people and overall. And it could of course lead to less engagement from testers and also customers as an overall because it seems like people reach out to you and they want a human contact or human to human, and then it's an AI, and they can quickly see this is an AI response. Like it gives you a couple of questions that you can reply, and you can maybe write some text, but you can see it's AI because it's not really responding the way that you would if you interacted with a human, right? So I think the overall AI is like I think like I mentioned before, there's a fine balance. But I think we need to like filter. We need to use AI to help us to filter and ensure that we use the time the necessary places. So AI helps us to do this, before human to human interaction. It helps us to escalate things that we need to focus on and not just, be looking at everything and then not catching the important stuff. So AI needs to be more, it has to be the first line of or defense, I would call it, but and then afterwards it would tell, the us or the developer, hey, here's something important that we need to be aware of. But also, replying the tester back, asking for more information, asking for new logs. That doesn't necessarily have to be a human, but at a second stage where the tester is like, my product broke, what can I do? Then they expect a human interaction, right? Because the AI can't reply back to that, and that's where we kind of do the human interaction. But we need to like leverage the strength of both AI and human interaction and have like a comprehensive and efficient testing experience. Like if we need to ensure that people feel heard and not hurt, because the problem is if they submit a ticket and we never reply back, people will be like, oh, what? Why did I even submit this ticket? So we need to ensure at least somebody replies them. If it's an AI, that's fine. The AI can be like, hey, we saw your feedback, and we will look into this. Yeah, I already received a bunch of feedback from testers, explaining that they really love the way that we interacted or we integrated the AI into the projects that we have now because they feel heard and they see there's interactions and not just a piece of feedback they submitted and nobody ever replies back to. So that's already really great that people have that feeling. And also what I did with the chat replies, the comments, is I actually wrote what did I wrote? I think I wrote a system reply or a system message and
Mm-hmm.
then colon and then the message. So they know this is a system message. It's not something from a actual user, but it's an automatic reply, right? What I also did is when people submit feedback, they do get an email, stating thank you for the feedback. This is the ticket number. Please be aware there's a response rate between 2 to 3 days, depending on holidays and blah blah blah. The standard stuff that you get when you supply or when you submit a support ticket. But it's more, this is not support tickets. It's I created a bug. Please fix my bug. And it kind of plays in together with the whole setup where we try to carry people through the process, right?
Yeah. I was talking about this. We're working on a content piece that's for creating activities. And what I was we got talking about like that balance of like how much should we be automating and how much should we be, custom writing stuff. And the way I kind of like broke it down was there's like an expectation of testers. And like you said, there's a system level expectation. When I submit feedback, I expect to be confirmed like that feedback is in your guys' inbox, right? Like it's to you. So having a system level message say, yes, hey, thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it. We're going to look into it. Like that's important. The tester goes, cool. What I did worked. Now, the expectation is that at some point there's going to be a human to come through and say, hey, yeah, I've reviewed your feedback, because maybe the AI isn't the best for reviewing every single piece of feedback that's coming through and making a decision on whether or not we should fix or not fix that thing. So it's helpful to have that human interaction at that level to be able to discern this is something that we should get addressed, or hey, I need this follow-up. I need some more information for them to get a better sense of what they're thinking or what they're feeling when they go through this. So that's where I see that balance is aligned to the tester's expectation of when they can deal with an AI, or they can expect an AI response or a system response, and when they expect a human response. Like that situation of I've got a bug, this is broken, I can't use this product. It probably needs a human touch. Getting an AI response or an automated response may not help the situation that the tester's in. Probably just frustrate them a little bit more.
But where AI is going, at some point, it will take over the whole support section. No doubt about it. It's just a matter of, the AI getting smarter, and also the ability to train the AI in your certain field. Like, for example, the AI models that I'm using, you are able to actually train them. So you could just, feed all kind of data to it, and then be like, this is, you're a B&O supporter. This is, how you do support, and this is the different products that we have, and they can have these issues and work around, and this is how we fix them. But I think that's in the longer. I think that's in the future somewhere. I don't think that's already now. I don't think AI is smart enough to do that at the point we are in now.
It'll get there. I mean, the Turing test, right? Like the idea is that whether or not a system can fool you into thinking that it's a person, that's like
Yeah.
that's the situation where you understand that you have a little more AI in you, right? So like there's a point where you can respond as an AI, and your tester will be fooled that this is a human, because the response is so good. It's so well put together. It understands everything that's going on. It gets a context that was set by somebody that likely a human set a context for the bot to be smarter. That information will still need to go to a human, and decisions will still need to be made by humans, whether or not we're aware that we're making decisions that the AI is kind of like put in front of us already. Like, here's a list of things that you should fix. Cool, I'll fix those 10 things, or should I fix those 10 things? You don't know what the other 100 things are, and it's just giving you a shorter list and saying like, hey, I took into consideration all the things that you think are important. We don't know yet right now whether or not we missed something in that 100, and that's why we're a little like skeptical, right? Like, oh, maybe I should still have the ability to be able to look at something past the 10 and look at the 100, so I can have a better idea, so I can make a decision, because there's a lot of domains that AI won't be sufficient in, that it's still learning.
And that's also what I meant, the balance of having the human to human interaction, but also using AI to filter out the stuff where you don't necessarily need human interaction, where you just need to have some certain, aspects in place before the human interaction has to take place.
Ultimately, it enables humans to do far more, right? Like as a program manager, somebody running the project, I could handle 10 times more if I have an AI helping me do this. It's doing a lot of the grunt work, things that would take me hours or nights to go through and pull something together. If I need to get something to my product manager, or an executive wants something done, I can get it done very quickly because I have access to essentially hundreds, thousands of people inside one single tool that can do this at a scale that's just not humanly possible.
Yeah, and you don't have to Google it or anything. You can just, ask it an overall question like, solve this for me, or please brainstorm a question, right?
Yeah.
And you could quickly brainstorm with the AI, and you don't need an actual human to be able to do that. While before you had to sit down in focus groups and you'd be like, let's brainstorm. And now you can just do it with the AI. Of course, AI is limited to its knowledge, but it helps a lot, as you also explained. Stuff that maybe took a week before takes half a day or a day now, because it's just so more efficient, and it really helps every workplace in getting from A to B.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I also see in the future, especially what we are doing, is I would really love, like, for example, if we do a new software rollout, I would love to have the ability to take, let's say we received $100 or 100 pieces of feedback, and we could feed that to the AI, and it could tell us, this is the tendencies that the issues, or the areas that the issues are in, and you need to focus in these areas. Like, that could be a really helping tool for us to give to development. Be like, oh, this area is kind of broken based on the feedback that we received. Like, so I think that's something in the near future that we're going to look into as well, and trying to make the AI help us to tell development what areas we know we're broken. Currently, we do this by looking at labels that we define. Like, I read a bug, and then I add a label like, this is an AirPlay issue, and then I know when that goes into Jira, I can see we have 10 AirPlay issues versus something else, right? And then we see a tendency, but it'd be much easier just to have the AI do that for us,
I mean, I could probably go on this for ever,
right?
but that idea that AI can do stuff with your data, like for example, we're gonna fix, we'll say 10 issues again because it's one of my favorite numbers apparently. We fixed 10 issues, and there's 100 total issues, but maybe we want to create some support articles or some workarounds for the rest of the issues to talk about that. We could feed that to the system, right? We could feed a user manual. We can feed this set of data, things, problems that people are running into, how we supported them, and support other people with it. We can support the rest of the customers with it. And there's no end to ways that we can use AI to scale stuff that just we wouldn't have been able to do. The reason why we don't always get to it is like there's just not enough time. Like we don't have enough time, not enough resources. We're pretty strapped for the people running the test. And it's like this just opens up a door for us to be able to extrapolate so much more value out of the program.
Mm, yeah, yeah, great.
All right. Well, I'd love to get to our rapid fire questions. This tends to be my favorite section. So without further ado, how would you describe beta in 1 to 3 words?
So I would definitely say pre-release, testing, and validation. So beta is always, a pre-released version of something that you want to roll out to the market. And you of course use time, and you use beta testers to test it, and also the ability to actually validate certain aspects of that software, or it has new features that you want to validate. You're like, what is the actual selling point here as well? Because customers will tell us, in praises or ideas, I really love this topic, or I really love this feature, and then people are like, 100 people said that this feature was amazing. Maybe it should be something we actually sell the feature on when we decide to release it, right? So, and testing is of course what we always do, trying to find the bugs that we need and to fix them before we actually roll out the software to real customers that didn't sign up for beta.
Most challenging thing to do in beta?
Um, so I think the most challenging aspect of beta testing is ensuring the comprehensive coverage while, manage user feedback efficiently. Just finding the right testers, but also trying to, ensuring that the feedback that we have is what do you call it? is actionable feedback, right? That it feedback that you can hand back to different teams, to design, to the software team, and tell them this is how you fix it, or this you need to fix this, and then we grow potentially, or we grow a lot because you fix this one thing, and telling this is the overall issue that we need to focus on. I think that sometimes the hardest thing about beta, trying to take all the customers and put in a box, or take all the customers and translating what all of these people said into a tract or something where you try to focus on the most important aspects of what they said. So it's because when we do beta tests, there's so much feedback, and you need to focus on what's really important and not get lost in all the other data and in the feedback. I'm not saying feedback is not important, but there's stuff that is less important than
Prioritizing.
my speaker doesn't my speaker doesn't turn on. We need to catch that, because if we don't catch that and we press the release button, then people on market be like, this is not luxurious, my speaker is crashing, what the hell do you guys do? Do you even test?
Easiest thing to do in beta.
So I mentioned before the thing, about finding the right testers. I think the easiest thing in this instance or the easiest thing would be, it's really easy, especially using the community, to find people that we can use to test on. It's more, of course, if they live up to the details that we really want. But I think people are, and it's a good thing, they're standing in line to be able to help us develop, and it's amazing to see how people really want to help. Of course, there's also the aspect of getting a feature or getting a product prior to its release and seeing it as the first person, but it's also just really easy to find these people that really want to help out and want to be part of this, what do you call it, journey to develop our product. Yeah,
I think that's good. One misconception about beta.
I think in our company, when we talk about beta, we have different teams, and we have different areas that are afraid that we will drown in feedback. There's no filtering. Everything is just going to be thrown into the system, and they're going to drown, and they're not going to have an overview to when we're going to do the release. So they don't know that we have an actual filtering process, and they don't know that. I'm trying to explain that every time, but it's more, of course, everything is not going straight into our internal systems. It's more, and also I think, as you also mentioned, the actual time it takes to run a beta, it varies from project to project, and it can take everything between a couple of weeks. So it could take 12 weeks. It could take 6 weeks. It all depends on whatever we're trying to test and what is the actual goal that we're trying to achieve.
Those are good misconceptions. What's your favorite thing about beta?
So my favorite thing is definitely, being able to share these new features, these new products with people that really want to see this stuff prior to everybody else, but also, reading their actual excitement and hearing about, the engagement they have with us and how much they really love to participate in these tests, or that now they've been testing a product and they just went out and bought the product because they loved it so much. Those aspects really help to make me confirm that we made a product that succeeded, right? And also we create these people that are loyal to the company and are they feel part of the company and part of the whole. They can go out to their friends and be like, after release, of course, be like, hey, I helped develop this product, and I was actually the one that said that. And I really think that's one of the really great aspects of beta, and also being able, sitting in my chair, being able to hand out these samples, be like, this is our baby, please, take care of it. And of course, I know it has flaws, but please report those flaws. And I just really love to have that engagement between, us and customers or potential customers and seeing them use the products and figuring out stuff that we didn't see at all before, stuff that they report that we didn't even notice.
Mhm.
And that's also one of the great aspects of beta.
All right. Coffee or tea? Which is your favorite?
Coffee.
How do you unwind?
So as I explained earlier, I have two kids. Of course, I don't think most people, but some people would say, you don't unwind with your kids because kids can sometimes be chaotic. But I think it's really amazing to come home to, two happy kids and happy wife, happy life. And just having, an overall and just seeing the kids happy, but also, I also do exercises and go for a run and travel and when we have the time, of course. So yeah,
Those are good.
certain. Yeah.
Are you watching anything on TV right now? Any shows?
Actually, so we are watching House of Dragons, I think.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, what do you call it,
Pre
spin-off, right?
prequel
Yeah,
thing.
prequel.
Super prequel.
And yeah, and also and an overall always go-to series when there's nothing else to watch is The Office, the US edition, right? I think I watched it like 5 times now. It never gets old. It's like, oh, did he? I can't remember he ever did that before. Is this a new series? What's happening?
Yeah.
And I really love it. The Office is great,
Everyone's got
great to
their
watch.
go-to. Um, what's the best piece of advice you've been given?
So the best piece of advice I've been given is focus on what we can control. Like we use so much time. Personally, I know other people also do. We use a lot of time of trying to control aspects that we can control and use energy on stuff that is not something we can influence. So I definitely think we need to focus on stuff and areas that we can actually do something about and not waste time on you know trying to figure out how can we solve something when it's not really something we can solve. um, yeah.
Perfect. All right, Jacob, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we can talk for hours on just the topic of AI and betas. Thank you so much.